We're going to take a look at the Gupta Empire as part of our exploration of golden ages. So let's get started. In this case, we're going to start by looking at this map. I just want you to note the first thing we're going to look at here is the Mauryan Empire, which dates up to about 250 BC, and that's that purple line. So if you look closely in the map, you can see there's this large purple line here at the top in the north, and then down here in the south, there's another purple line. And that's the extent to which the Mauryan Empire had expanded by 250 BC. And that's the dynasty that predates the Gupta Empire. The Gupta Empire dates around AD 400. And you can see in this bright orange area here, this is the area that they had direct control over. And that's up near the northern part of India, along the Ganges River Valley, where most of the people would have lived. They also had influence over this sort of central part of India right here, this lighter yellow area. Okay, so these are areas where they would have influence but not direct control. Okay, the height of the Gupta Empire actually comes under Chandragupta II. He's actually the third Gupta emperor. Now, we don't really have any images of him. The best image that we have is this one here on the right. It's a coin which depicts what he might have been like. Now, he ruled through peaceful means. In fact, he ruled for 40 years. So in this time period, it would have been very unusual for a leader to be in power for 40 years. And so to do so meant that there would have been some peace and stability and some continuity. So that probably contributed to the height of their peaceful reign. Now, the way he maintained peace was that he negotiated peace through diplomacy and marriage alliances. So what he did was he married off his children to the children of other important people, and as a result, people would be less likely to challenge him because they would all be part of one sort of large extended family. He also took part in profitable trade between India and the Mediterranean world. So at the height of the Gupta, if you look at this map, you can see that the Gupta are over here in sort of the western part of the map, which is what we're going to call the Gupta Empire in India. And you can see that the major trade routes at that time go through today what we would call Arabia, the Arabian Peninsula, and cut across through what we would refer to as West Asia, all the way to this eastern part of the Mediterranean Sea, close to where the Byzantine Empire is going to be located, and also sort of the eastern part of the Roman Empire. So this was really an important location that India was close enough to this sort of centralized trade system that connected it to the Mediterranean world. And as we'll see a little bit later in the screencast, those were not the only trade routes that were important. Okay, let's take a look then at achievements in science. First of all, with mathematics, the Indians actually invented the concept of zero. And they also invented the concept of the decimal system. So we're actually going to take a closer look at this in class, but you can see right here in 300 BC, this is what the Indian numerical system looked like. And as we go down to 976, we can see the changes here. 11th century, again, the numbers change again. 1200 AD, numbers change one more time. And then the 15th century, again, the numbers change again. And then by 1522 AD, the numbers begin to look like this. And these are very familiar to us. Many of us may consider these to be Arabic numerals, but what we'll discover is that the Arabs actually borrowed this numbering system from the Indians. And the most important significant concept that they gave us was the concept of zero. Without zero, it would be very difficult to do the kinds of complicated mathematics that are done today in the modern world. Okay, they also had achievements in astronomy as well. They were able to calculate the solar year to 365.3586805 days. Keep in mind, if we go back to ancient Mesopotamia, people in the ancient world had been using lunar calendars, but in this case, the Indians were using a solar calendar. Also, they were able to establish the Earth as round by studying eclipses. So long before Europeans will begin to discuss the issue of the Earth being round, this sort of the myth that Columbus believed the world was flat, we'll know that the world was round. People did know it was round. The question was how round was the Earth? And Indian astronomers are able to sort of come up with calculations for this by looking at eclipses, and later on Arabic astronomers will also be able to determine the roundness of the world. So this idea that the world was flat in the minds of most people back in the sort of early Middle Ages isn't true. People actually knew that the world was round. Okay, they also had achievements in medicine as well. In fact, they performed plastic surgery. They also administered inoculations, so inoculations to certain kinds of diseases. And this would have been something that would have been fairly risky back then. But again, the idea that you can be inoculated to certain diseases by injecting yourself with a part of the disease to build up the antibodies that you need for the immunity is something that dates all the way back to the Gupta Empire. We should also take a look at the spread of Indian trade. Let's start off by looking at the overland trade routes. First of all, they had vast network of caravan routes, or what we would call Silk Roads. They also acted as the middleman between East and West, so you can see that the central location of the Gupta Empire here is right in the middle of the map. Also, they had trading stations that were built along the roads, and of course these would become the big trading cities of Central Asia. Okay, there was also sea trade as well. Again, coastal routes headed east and west from central and southern India. Arabian Sea to Persian Gulf is one set, and the other is from Southeast Asia to China. All right, let's take a look at this larger map. And what we can see on this larger map is that there is a series of land and sea routes. So again, here you can see the traditional land route of the Silk Road heading out from Xi'an, China, across into the Himalayan region, and then across to the north, which is the more traditional Silk Road route, and eventually connecting over here through Persia, heading towards the eastern Mediterranean region. And again, we can see there's another land route that goes down the Indus River, crosses through southern Persia, and again makes its way across Arabia towards Egypt and the eastern Mediterranean here. We also see there's another smaller southern route that heads down into this western part of the Gupta Empire, but connects with the major sea routes that head towards the southern part of Africa here, the Kingdom of Aksum, and up the Red Sea again towards Alexandria, Egypt, and again the eastern Mediterranean. And we can also see there's another water route that heads through the Persian Gulf, past Arabia and Persia, and again connects with land routes that then take it towards the eastern Mediterranean. And we also see that there are water routes on the eastern part of the Gupta Empire. The first one down here in the south you can see connects with what we would call Southeast Asia, passes where Singapore is located, and then heads up past Vietnam and through China, past Hainan Island, and then around the sort of eastern edge of China. And then there's another smaller water route that heads, again, from the eastern part of the Gupta Empire down past Burma or Myanmar, and then goes back to land and heads through land, heading down towards the southern part of what we would today call Cambodia or southern Vietnam. So these routes were fairly extensive. They were both on water, they're both on land, and you can see that the Gupta Empire is located in a central location to take full advantage of, at that time, what would have been the major global trade networks. Okay, so this is prior to the discovery of North and South America. So this is it. This was global trade was happening, and India is right in the middle of it all.